But the big one that I do want to discuss today and focus a bit of time on now is vicarious trauma. Um, so the term was first coined in 1995, and it is the permanent transformation in the inner experience. And that's really important. It's the inner experience of what's going on inside of the individual, that therapist or professional, that comes about as a result of empathic engagement with clients trauma material. So obviously with the roles that you're all doing, you are having this inner experience on a daily basis where you engage in an empathetic level with people who have experienced a trauma, and in some cases severe trauma. And what happens over time and as a build-up of this, as with all things, is wear and tear. As with all things, the more that you're carrying is the heavier that burden becomes. And even on a normal situation and time, that can happen. But when you add in the factors of COVID, separation, all these other stuff that's going on alongside this, and even as some examples when you've got personal experiences going on within your family at the same time, it can be a heavy burden to carry. So Bernie Brown, who is a very powerful woman, done a lot of research around things of like guilt, shame, empathy, and connection. She stated that empathy fuels connections, while sympathy drives disconnection. Okay. And all of you within your work, I'm sure you're quite aware of this. And this is why you champion empathy and you make sure that when you're working with clients, you give of yourself to them. And as helping professionals, we work to connect with others using empathy. In order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. And this is where and why it can become quite difficult, because every time you're connecting with someone, there has to be something within you to connect with in that thing. And that's why vicarious trauma can come in, because you're constantly connecting with something within yourself. It doesn't have to be in the same experience, but you're connecting with something within yourself, and that pulls on your strings, that pulls on your emotions, that pulls on something deep within you that you are now attaching to that in order for you to connect. And when we hear about trauma that our clients have experienced, a part of us connects to that feeling, leaving us vulnerable to the effects of trauma or vulnerable to VT. And so it's really important that we become aware of this and we understand that why this may be happening. And then we can look at ways that we can help ourselves and to preserve our own well-being while still engaging in this process of connecting with people who very much need that connection. So vicarious trauma impacts the internal experience of the provider, i.e. you. And it brings up disruptions related to safety, trust, esteem, intimacy, and control. And so it's really important to be aware of this, because it's a two-way thing. With what you're hearing, it then also impacts you in terms of safety, trust, esteem, intimacy, and control. Because as you're constantly hearing these messages, as you're constantly hearing these experiences of people, it causes you to then reflect on how relationships are, how people can be, how, what is the safety for my daughter? What's the safety for my sister? What's the safety for me as an individual when you're hearing these experiences? And each of these represent a psychological need, and each need is experienced in relation to self and others. And so VT provokes a deep-seated questioning of how safe we are in the world in relation to ourselves and others.